tomorrow. Not only you get everybody in your household and your neighbor's household and your grandmother to ring their bell. Tell them what I told you about, yes, do some cutting in Austin. Leave my teachers alone. I come from very humble beginnings, and I owe any success I might have experienced the teachers in public schools that cared about me. They encouraged me. They had high expectations for me. Without that, I would not be here tonight. That's why I feel so strongly about public education being so foundational for future success in Texas, so my grandchildren and your children can live in the place and have great success as you and I have. I want your children to have similar opportunities that I had to succeed. And we can't do it with this level of cuts. I'm not going to accept it, and I expect you not to accept it. And we're going to do everything we can to keep education a priority in Texas. Thank you.
I have a lot of Baptists in me, so I'll be moving around a little bit tonight, okay? I disagree with Aledo ISD and make education a priority. No offense. Because education should be the priority. If you're a parent in Athens ISD, will you please stand up? Remain standing. If your child's beside you, grab his or her hand. Now I want you to look at the map of Texas. Dallas isn't too far away. And then look at the eyes of your child and try to rationalize why that child is worth $5,000 less than the kid 50 miles away. Explain that to your child. See, I can't do that because I'm a Baptist and I have some morals about me. See, we have a system that's inequitable. We have lawmakers that have decided in their infinite wisdom to pick winners and losers, the haves and the have-nots. They are placing an inherent value on your child. An inherent value on your child. I say this. Our kids are not for sale for political advantage. Now, it's all good to come together in a rally and be in a football field and all this and all that, and that's all great. And it's great to have a unified voice. But it's got to be an informed voice. They've got plenty of complainers. They have to have informed citizens. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to inform you a little bit tonight. How do we do this? We have a $9.8 billion deficit in the budget. And they're saying cut, cut, cut. And I say, the reality is, there is a way to put $1,000 more into the system per child. Why are we talking about reductions when what we currently have isn't good enough to begin with? Let's talk about how we can take a balanced approach and not have to cut funding for students and for teachers. How do we generate revenue without raising taxes? Well, we have to eliminate the drilling exploration incentives that were put in place in 1989 for the Barnett Shale drilling. There's 14,000 active drill wells there now. They don't need an incentive to go drill more. That saves $1 billion. ExxonMobil made $52 billion last quarter. Knock them down to $51 billion. I'm okay with that. Eliminate the severance tax on coal. That saves $70 million. Eliminate the franchise tax for insurance companies. That's $546 million, because we know insurance companies don't make enough money in the state of Texas. That's sarcasm if you didn't pick up on that. And then we'll eliminate the franchise tax exemption for mutual fund investment companies, $641 million. Eliminate other property tax exemptions for coffee bean growers, $60 million. I like Starbucks, but I like kids a lot more. Use the rainy day fund. We keep hearing $4.3 billion. Well, that's real generous of them, considering they have a deficit in the last biennium that they had to pay for. Use $2 billion of that money. Delay payments. School superintendents can take a delay in payments of 5 or 6 days. That creates another $2 billion. And you can accept money the federal government's been trying to send us for a year and a half. That's $830 million to save jobs. That is $9.3 billion, and we've not raised 1 cent in taxes. We've filled loopholes. Now let's increase funding. That's all good to just get through the short term, because we got to look at a long-term solution like Mr. Smith talked about. Did you know if you raised 1 cent per ounce on a Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola across the biennium, that'd create $2.5 billion? We can afford a nickel of Coke. We can afford that. Did you also know that if you raised the sales tax 1%, that would create $6 billion over the biennium? That would create $1,000 more for every child in every school district in the state of Texas. I guarantee you your education will be better. And Mr. Smith, 44 will move up. We have a current funding system that's like a house that has 4 layers of shingles on it, and it's crushing beneath its own weight. And what our lawmakers are wanting to do is put another layer of shingles on that house. Sooner or later, it will fall. And we're at a tipping point. That's why we need a long-term approach. And a long-term approach has to have some basic tenets in it. It has to be sustainable. We should not have to have a rally every single year to make sure teachers and kids are funded properly. It has to be local. The people in these stands should make the decisions about their children. It has to be adequate. If it's below 6,000, it's a joke. It has to be transparent. Your grandmother ought to be able to understand how the funding system works. And it has to be equitable. The people that stood with their child, you ought to be able to look in your child's eye and tell them, you matter just like every other student in the state of Texas matters. How can you help? Well, one, visit Joe's website, texasisd.com, or my website, schoolsoup.com, and become informed. You have to know how to fight the good fight. Do not buy into the divide and conquer approach. You understand they're trying to separate administrators from teachers and parents from school districts. They are to blame. And last but not least, I issue a challenge. It's easy to come to a pep rally and get motivated for a short time. It's the plotters that make a difference. It's the people that call every day. It's the people that send the letter every day. The squeaky wheel will get old. And in closing, I would say this. Your destiny is in your own hands. It's what you make it. If you accept it to be a reality that we have to take these budget cuts, it will be a reality. And that's not a good thing for our kids. Appreciate your time, Mr. Hay.